Hey guys, so welcome to your methods of training video. Don't forget to follow the steps to success and find somewhere quiet to watch this. Take notes as you go, do the assessment quiz straight away, and don't watch it too long before your first lesson on methods of training. So your learning intention for this video. By the end of this video, you'll be able to recall the names of the 6 different methods of training. You'll also be able to describe the advantages and disadvantages of each method. So, what are the methods of training? Methods of training are the different techniques and training styles that can be employed to target specific components of fitness. Each method has its advantages and disadvantages and target different aspects of fitness. Alright, let's get started. So, here are the 6 different methods. Take note of these. Circuit training, continuous training, fartlek training, weight training, interval training, and plyometric training. Here we go. This is what circuit training is. A series of exercise stations, approximately 8 to 15. So each station is designed to target a different muscle group from the one before it. We've done these in the fitness unit that we've done at the end of last year. The intensity of a circuit training session can be varied by adjusting the following things. So you can adjust the time at each station. So you could increase the amount of time at each station to make it longer. You could change the amount of repetitions at each station. You could increase it from, say, 20 press-ups to 50 press-ups. You could increase or decrease the amount of stations. So the more stations you have, the more varied it will be, and the more muscle groups you'll target. The number of times you go around the circuit will definitely increase or decrease the intensity of the workout. And the difficulty of the exercises at each station will definitely increase or decrease it as well. Here's a little video to show you what an exemplar circuit training exercise might look like. So here you can see that there's a series of stations set up, and they spend a minute at each station. Then they move on to the next station and do a different exercise. The advantages of circuit training. It's adaptable for different sports. You can change the exercises at the different stations to make it specific to each sport. It's always changing, and so it's more exciting and more interesting, and generally there's a couple more people doing it, so you can do it with other people. Usually there's quite a lot of equipment required because of the different exercises. You could do it with body weight, but often to make it more specific, you'll need some sort of equipment to do at each station, which therefore means it takes longer to set up. Okay, now we're moving on to continuous training. There are 2 different types of continuous training. The first is long slow distance. The second is high intensity continuous training. Long slow distance training. Any continuous activity for periods of 30 minutes to 2 hours approximately. Could go longer though. Basically it's going for a long slow run, a long slow swim, a long slow cycle, okay? And it targets the aerobic energy system, cardiovascular endurance. The advantages of this are it improves cardiovascular endurance. It uses fat as an energy source and reduces fat percentage. It maintains cardiovascular endurance in the off season, so it's a good thing to do when you're not training, like going to football training or netball training. It's a good thing to do in the off season to just go for a run, maintain that base fitness. You don't need much equipment, just some running shoes. Disadvantages, it can be really boring. High intensity continuous training. Any continuous activity for less than 30 minutes. It's got to be continuous though. Basically, it's going for a shorter run, but as fast as you possibly can. It uses the anaerobic energy system. If it's not using the anaerobic energy system, then it's long, slow distance. Improves cardiovascular endurance at high intensity. Okay, so the amount of time that you can keep going, keep delivering oxygen to the working muscles at high intensity levels. It improves muscular endurance, it improves leg speed and strength, and it takes less time than going for a long, slow distance run. Can be boring, and it's pretty hard work. Fartlek training. So fartlek training should go for a minimum of 30 minutes. Can include walking, running, swimming, cycling, skiing. There's probably more as well, but these are the ones that come to my mind first. Basically, it's frequently changing the speed and intensity at different points of the activity. So you might go for a little bit of a run and then spend a minute sprinting or going as hard as you can. Here's a little video that we can watch to explain it. So there you have it, that's fartlek training. Basically, going for a run, spending a period of time running lightly, spending a short amount of time going harder at maybe 90% of your heart rate, max heart rate. The advantages and disadvantages of fartlek training. So the advantages are that it improves cardiovascular endurance at both high intensity and low intensity. It can be quite motivating because it's quite exciting and fun to be jogging for a while and then sprint as hard as you can. It's good for people who need both aerobic and anaerobic fitness, such as netball players or football players. Disadvantages. Because it can get harder the longer you go, you might be more likely to skip the high intensity parts of it. You need to keep track of training zones for the best effect, so your max heart rate zones, so maybe 90%, 80% for your sprint sections. It can be difficult to see if someone is training hard enough in the high intensity sections as well. So it's kind of something you need to keep track of for yourself. So weight training. There's different types, and here are the two types that we're going to look at. One is isometric, and the other is isotonic. They can be done with machine weights, free weights, or body weight. So here's isometric training, weight training. So the muscles contract and hold the position at the joint. So there's no movement at the joint. For example, doing a wall sit and just holding that position, or doing a prone hold and just holding that position. There shouldn't be any movement at the joint, just contracting the muscles and holding there. The advantages of that are that it improves static strength. It's easy to do with body weight and can be done anywhere. Disadvantages, it can be boring. You're not actually moving anywhere. 2, it's not good for people with heart conditions due to the restriction of blood flow. And 3, it does not improve muscular endurance. Weight training. So here's isotonic weight training. This is probably more what you know of as weight training. So sort of doing bicep curls and stuff, but basically it's shortening and lengthening the muscle through contraction. It produces movement at the joint. Advantages of that are it improves muscular strength and endurance. It can be adapted to meet specific demands of a sport, and it can improve strength in the full range of movement. So, you know, if you're going to do a bicep curl, it improves the strength at the start of the bicep curl and all the way through to the end. In a push-up, it improves strength throughout the full range of movement. Disadvantages. You get quite a bit of muscle soreness after the exercise. This is called DOMS. And it can be dangerous to ligaments and tendons if the weight is too high or your form is bad. So if it's too heavy, then it can put too much strain on your tendons because they're not used to it. And also, if you're doing it the wrong way, it can put unnecessary strain on them as well. Interval training. So interval training is alternating periods of exercise with rest at a set ratio. Rest periods allow for recovery to happen and for you to sort of catch your breath or for your muscles to recover so that you can go again at a high intensity. You can vary the rest periods and the exercise periods to increase or decrease intensity. Advantages: it improves aerobic and anaerobic fitness. You can work for longer periods of time at higher intensity because you get rest, and in the rest time you recover. So it's good for beginners wishing to train for longer periods of time. So if you're not very fit, okay, then you can go and do interval training at a really high intensity, have a rest, recover, and then go again. And you don't have to be super fit to do that high intensity workout over a long period of time. It's also good for games fitness such as hockey, netball, tennis, all kinds of games. Disadvantages: it can become a bit boring and repetitive, and when you're getting fatigued, it can be hard to keep going at that high intensity. Plyometric training. This is our last method of training. It's a series of explosive movements to improve muscular power. It includes bounds, hops, jumps, leaps off and onto boxes, etc. So doing a burpee, for example, with a big jump in it, that would be considered plyometric training. What happens is the muscles stretch before the contraction to produce additional power. The advantages of this are that it improves muscular power. It can be performed without equipment. It can be adapted to specific or certain sports. The disadvantages are that it puts great stress on the muscles and joints, and you need to be warmed up and really well prepared to avoid injury. You need to be careful when you're doing these exercises as well. A few more examples might be a jump squat, or doing sort of jumping lunges and things like that. That's plyometric training. So that's all we've got for today. Make sure you follow up with any assessment tasks that I've set, and watch this before your next lesson. Cheers, thanks, bye.